Welcome to NFL, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And in week 3, it was an intriguing one to say the least. Let's begin with the Patriots and the Jets. As the Jets go and beat the New England Patriots in MetLife Stadium for the first time since 2015, winning the game 24-3 in a game where, look, the Patriots just couldn't do anything. And when I was speaking to my brother on the What Play podcast, which you can find on the What Play podcast on YouTube, just type in What Play podcast and it should come up. He was saying how there's so many issues. The offensive line is bad. Jacoby Brissett is not playing particularly well. The defense is not good. They're struggling on all fronts. But he said most of the offense is just bad. And I understand that. I watched the game and I said my takeaway was this offense is really bad. They don't push the ball. They don't try to push the ball. Jacoby Brissett can't hit anything beyond 20 yards. Like, this is really bad. He's getting beaten up. This offensive line is really awful. The ground game is non-existent. They can't. If there's a penalty on them at any point of the game, it's an issue. It becomes too problematic for this team. So yeah, that's what I'll say. That's the best way I can put it. Next up, and give credit to the Jets on top of that, is because they had a complete game plan. Aaron Rodgers looked good. But every time, like, this is a criticism of Aaron. Every time Aaron throws an incompletion, it's almost like I understand he wants to be a perfectionist. I get it. Everyone wants to be perfectionist. But because you're not perfect, that there's an old saying. The only thing that is perfect is your imperfections. Your imperfections is what make you perfect. That's the idea. Because it makes you you. That's how it is. And for Aaron, he had 6 incompletions, but every time he throws an incompletion, he's, oh my God, what in the world? What is going on? And it's like, Aaron, you completed, I think it was like 26 of 32 or something like that. It's a great game. That's a great game. And he's like, I threw 6 incompletions. Aaron, you won. Like, yes, there's things you should work on, but you don't have to go and like say all these random things. There was a thing that came out, I think it was after the first game against San Francisco, but he was legit throwing an incompletion and would stare in the camera like he was in the office. And he was doing the off. It's like if you ever watched The Office and how someone would say something and then they stare right into camera, that's basically what he would do. He threw an incompletion, he'd stare right into the camera. It was like, that was so unnecessary. That's basically what he does. That he's waiting for a reaction for every incompletion. That's crazy to me. But just handy criticism, that's all. Next up, the Ravens versus the Cowboys, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the Ravens won 28-25 in a game that wasn't that close. This game was 28-6, and the Ravens took their foot off the gas pedal, and then Dallas just decided we're going to throw it every time and made it a game. That's what happened. We'll talk about it. We're gonna talk about what's going on with Cincinnati and Dallas after the recap. So sit tight with that. Derrick Henry looked great, over 150 yards. Lamar Jackson looked great on the ground, and through the air, the guys were getting open, and Dallas just couldn't do that. And again, we'll get more into Dallas in a little bit. So, Lions versus the Cardinals. 20-13 was the score the Lions won. I think this is just the Lions kind of where they go. They're gonna win games 20 to something, and that's it. They're not gonna go score 35, whatever. That's just not their team, which is fine. As long as you keep teams under the score of 20, you're good. But it's very hard to do that. I still am concerned about the secondary. I don't think they're very good. I think at times, they may want to say that, oh, we're opportunistic. I don't think they're opportunistic. I just don't think they're very good. They struggle. You have a lot of guys back there that aren't fully corners, and yet you can see it. And quarterbacks are taking that apart. That can't happen. Um, the Cardinals couldn't do anything. Like that's the nature of how this went. Okay, like that's what it is. I'm curious to see where they go from here. The Cardinals do, and I'm curious to see what is the plan for the Lions to give their secondary some help. Maybe it's we don't blitz as much. We keep some guys in the secondary a little more. We put another guy in there. We try something because these are things that you're going to have conversations about. Next up, the Chiefs versus the Falcons. Chiefs won this game 22-17, and remember last year how we had a conversation about there's something going on in Philadelphia, we don't know what it is? I think that's what's going on with the Chiefs. We don't know what it is, but there's something there. There's something that's not clicking. And this one's a little more easy to define because we see it, and we've been seeing it for the past few weeks. Travis Kelce's not getting going at all. There's different times in the game where you're looking at it, he says 4 targets, 2 catches, 16 yards or 5 yards, whatever it is. And it's like, that's not a Travis Kelce stat line for a first half or for a game. What on earth is happening? Like, why on earth is he not getting targeted? Is it because they're trying to get the ball to Xavier Worthy? Maybe. Are they trying to get the ball to the other guys? Possibly. But to me, this doesn't look like a very functional offense. They lost Isaiah Pacheco. They tried to run the ball against Atlanta, and they had some success. Not a lot of success, but they had some. Um, Atlanta, kept it a game and nearly, in my opinion, should have won this game if that pass interference is called in the end zone on Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is 6'6". There's a reason he can't get back to the ball if there's a guy pushing into his abdomen like that. Not that hard. The ref is right there. Why he didn't throw the flag, I have no earthly idea. I mean, yes, they kind of gave him a couple penalties on the way down the field. Like, the second chance that they had to go win the game, but the damage is done. Damage is done when that happens. So, and then look. Again, there does seem to be some issues. What are the exact issues? I can't give you a straight idea on that for the Chiefs. Um, Atlanta could have won this game on the second opportunity they had, but they ran a weird play where they tried to have Tyler Algier be a blocker. And I understand, look, you have offensive lineman issues there. Offensive lineman went down in this game. I get it, but it doesn't make any sense that you're going to let Bijan Robinson run to the left, not going straight, but going north, not going north and south, but going east and west. I guess more east than more west than east, I should say. Like, that's what they were doing. It made no sense. It was kind of frustrating. And that's what we got. And they had him on the ropes again. Like there was concerns about it since like what happened in Cincinnati. There's concerns of what happened in Baltimore. But this one, I thought there was major cracks in the armor of the Kansas City Chiefs. It just needs to be sought out. So our record for this whole year is 7-12. That is not good. That is not particularly good. So you're gonna catch me a little bit on the fly here, actually putting on new games in. Let me hang on. Make sure I have these games. Okay. Mhm. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. There it is. So let's get into really what is need to talk about, and it's the Cowboys and Bengals struggles. Let's start with the Cowboys because that's got me all riled up first. People are asking what are the issues with the Cowboys, and like, I mean, it's pretty visible what you can see, but I'll try to put a nice bow over it. And the answer is this is a pass happy offense. They want to pass the ball. They do. They want to run the ball. They want to be a very balanced offense, but they can't. They don't run the ball particularly well. You have no speed in the running back at all. Ezekiel Elliott is an older guy. Rico Dowdle has not been a starter before, so you're kind of scared of giving him that position, but you should. Deuce Vaughn is 5'5". They don't give him a lot of opportunities, but he when he does, he actually lead the team in missed tackles. He has 8, so they should give him it. And they have Dalvin Cook on the practice squad. But the reason this offense doesn't work is they can't run the football. They try to run the ball inside against light boxes, which means they only put 6 guys in the box, meaning they only put 4 defensive linemen and 2 linebackers in the box every time, and the Cowboys can't run against it. They can't do it. When they face light boxes way more than they face heavy boxes, they face the heavy boxes, I believe, like they're second to last. So the teams aren't afraid for them to run the football. They're not afraid. They're gonna say, okay, we're gonna play this coverage, and we're not afraid if you run the football because you can't. So how do you fix it? Well, you gotta try. They can't run in between the tackles, so let's try running outside the tackles, which is what you should be trying to do with Deuce Vaughn because he's so small. You get him in space, just let him make plays. And I know Zeke isn't that kind of guy pretty much anymore, but you gotta do it. Rico Dowdle could do that. You haven't done it yet. I know the Cowboys have said Mike McCarthy said about Dalvin Cook, he's a great outside runner. He's a great runner on the outside. That's true. But at what point do you give them the opportunity to do that? Because you can't do it. You can't do it. You gotta change something up because it doesn't work. You gotta help your offense out. Because they were playing Baltimore. It was 28-6. And everyone is frustrated. You saw it. CeeDee Lamb was frustrated. Michael Parsons was frustrated. You saw it. Everyone is frustrated. At some point, you gotta say, man, we gotta do something different. This is the truth. I saw this stat, I think it was Monday. I saw it. The Cowboys are the only team in the NFL at this time to have no running backs have a rush over 10 yards. They have one running back that had 10-yard run, and that is it. That was Rico Dowdle. The longest one they've had is 12 yards from CeeDee Lamb. That is it. They have no rushes over 10 plus yards from a running back. That's a problem. You gotta fix it. Get him on the outside. Let him make missed tackles. Let him go make plays. Manufacture the run game by getting wide receivers more involved. To do something. You gotta do something. Put Deuce Vaughn on these sweeps. Try to get motion. Do something to just make teams go and be like, okay, this is something we have to guard now. And that fixes it. And the other problem is the rush defense is horrible. I mean, it's been bad for the last few years. And the same thing goes for the offense. Rushing offense has been bad. They've waited so long to get defensive tackle help. They get guys that are older and getting pushed off the ball. They had to put Jordan Phillips on IR because he was just bad. And they said, no, you have a wrist injury, even though he doesn't. They did that because he doesn't have a wrist injury. They just did it because they don't want to deal with him right now. So that's going on with Jordan Phillips. Linval Joseph is slow. He can't get up. When he snaps the ball, he's not moving at all. He's not getting up there. So he's struggling. He's getting pushed off the ball, same as Jordan Phillips was. Mozzie Smith, who's been a massive disappointment, is the second best defensive tackle by a large margin. That's not helpful. You brought in Carlos Watkins. He didn't play particularly great. Oso Dikizuwa is been okay, but he's not been great either. He's been your best one by default because everyone else has been so bad. They can't stop a run to the outside on the left tackle side. They can't stop it. Really on the ends, but they can't stop it from the left tackle side. So how do you fix this? The answer is not exactly an easy answer, but I think I came up with a couple suggestions. The first suggestion is play more linebackers because you don't have the horses at the end or D tackle. So play a couple more linebackers. Put another linebacker on that side and just have him play contain over and over again. That's what you do. The second option is put another defensive tackle in there. So have 3 D tackles and then 2 ends. And hopefully that just occupies space and then you can stop these big runs. And calm it down. You gotta do something. Or put another safety. Something needs to happen here. You gotta do something. It's not helpful if you don't. So that's something that needs to be talked about. But those are the issues with the Cowboys. Really, if they fix those 2 things, because the rush defense has been awful for the Cowboys, and they can't stop anybody after contact. Those are things that need to be addressed. They're 30th or 32nd in the NFL. That is horrible. Can you make it so it's like, okay, maybe by the time we get to the end of the year, it's 20th or 24th. It's still bad, but better. Okay. That I can deal with. You can't win all games like that. You won't. You'll beat bad teams, but you won't beat good teams. And that's always been the issue. That's always been a problem that has never been talked about is the Cowboys will beat down bad teams, but won't beat good teams. I described it, they're like the bully that beats on the weakest person. But when another bully comes around, now they're the weakest person. That bully who's beating the weakest person is now the weakest person. That's what happened. That's the Cowboys in essence. For the Bengals, it's a lot harder to describe. They are not a particularly good defense. It's they played fairly well against the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes did not have any deep throws. They ran the ball well. The Chiefs did against the Bengals, but they did not have a particularly good passing game. Now, Jaden Daniels tore up the Bengals on the ground, using his legs, through the air. He had a 90, I think it was 91% pass rate in a game. That's the highest any rookie's ever had. He had 2 incompletions. As a defense, when your defense is only getting 2 incompletions, that's really bad. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase had 2 great games. They really did. You can't tell me that they didn't. So why on earth they gave you the ball back? They're down 5. They're down 5. And give or not even down 5. I think they were down 2 or something. They were giving you the ball back or something. And they think, okay, we have an opportunity to go score again. They give you the ball back with roughly 9 minutes left to this Washington team. And they're saying, okay, Bengals defense, don't give them a long drive. And the Bengals end up giving them a 7+ minute drive. Can't happen. It can't happen. I'm sorry. That cannot happen. So what do you want Bengals offense to do? They can't. We said this before. If your team offense scores 30 or 35 points, you're supposed to win games. But if your offense is giving up 35, or scoring 35, but your defense gives up 38, you're not winning games. You're just not. If your offense scores 28, but your defense gives up 35, you're not winning games. That's just not going to happen. That's the issue with this team. They're not giving the offense is scoring points, but the defense can't stop anybody. It's a problem. It needs to be addressed. All right. Before we get into the previews for week number 4, we will talk about a few things. Number 1, the Steelers have signed C.J. Henderson. Henderson played for the Panthers, played for the Texans. He's been around. As a first-round pick, he hasn't been particularly good. He's been, well, let's put it this way. He's been bad. He was really bad in Carolina and in Houston. He was not good. So let's see what happens. But maybe the Steelers defense can fix him. I guess. Give it a shot. Because look, when you have a first round pick, you can get multiple opportunities. This isn't working though. Something's gotta be fixed. Maybe it's him. Who knows? Steelers have made the announcement of Justin Fields will start week 4, but are leaving the quarterback 1 conversation on hold. Saying basically, right now we're going with Justin, but it's not a quarterback controversy, which is completely incorrect. That is a quarterback controversy. Justin Fields, oddly enough, has played better than Russell Wilson has, even though Russell Wilson has not had a snap in an NFL game right now in the Steelers uniform. It's the things he can do benefit what the Steelers do. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's not taking sacks. He's keeping him ahead of the sticks for the most part. And the ground game looks good when he's able to be on the move, and when Najee Harris is on the move, they look good. They look competent, is what the word I've been using for a lot of these teams. They need to be competent. That's what they are doing. That is what they are doing. So I think if you're the Steelers, ride this wave. If it doesn't work and Russell ends up having to go in week 4 because Justin's not playing well, then you have that conversation for week 5 of who's the quarterback. But until that time, you roll with Justin until something else says otherwise. Um, this news broke out, I want to say, late last night. Or at least I saw it last night. So, Brett Favre was talking in front of Congress, and had a conversation about what was going on. For you not for you who are not aware, a few years ago, Brett Favre was getting sued for basically stealing welfare checks. That was basically what he was being accused of. And there was a lot going on. Anyway, he was meeting in front of Congress to talk about this. And he was sitting in front of Congress yesterday, and he was talking. And at one point of this, I don't know if it was to get sympathy or if it was to he just wanted to share this, one or the other. He announced that he had Parkinson's. First time I've ever heard of this. He said, I have Parkinson's. Now, the question is, and this is not a question for you or me to ask or answer, because we are not inclined to answer this question because we don't have all the information, because we are not people who study the human mind. This is a football based show for a reason. But the question has to be presented, is the reason why Favre has Parkinson's. The Brett Favre has Parkinson's because of the amount of concussions that he has suffered. It has to be brought up. A quick story here. When I was in school, when I was in high school, we had a teacher. He said, I'm going to let you guys do a project. Okay, you're going to do a presentation on anything you want. And I chose to do my presentation on the NFL, specifically on concussions. And I came across this interview that Brett Favre had did with it was a USA Today or something. And he went, or Good Morning America, something like that. It was one of those morning shows. And he said the amount of concussions he had were over the 100s because his father had a idea, or not an idea, but a knowledge. His sense was, if you can get off the field walking, you can play. Once you can't get off once you can't crawl off the field, then I'll come and get you. So who knows how many concussions he actually suffered at that time? And who knows how many concussions he actually suffered during his NFL career? Your brain is getting bashed around. That becomes a question and answer that we cannot give. but it is something that has to be thrown out. And look, I understand Brett has had his fair share of opinions, and some people don't like Brett. Some people don't like what Brett has done. But you can't argue with the fact that Brett is a human being who has this illness now, and people are going to rally around him. Whether it's the people of Green Bay, the people of New York, the people of Minnesota, whatever it is, they're going to rally around him. Whether you agree or disagree with his beliefs, you are. So, Brett, we are pulling for you. Just keep that all in mind. Now, going into week 4, the preview section again. Well, actually, hang on. Let's first do San Francisco's injury problem. San Francisco is having an injury issue, and I want to actually make sure I have all this information, just so I'm not blowing hot air. So let me go and grab. There we go. So it's not, as I'm looking, it's not giving an answer. But basically, what happened was the 49ers have had an injury issue the last few weeks. It's really started beginning of the year. Christian McCaffrey's injury that put him on IR, the Deebo Samuel injury, which is a big injury to have. But Trent Williams had exited the game briefly against the Rams, but then came back in. The issue is you don't know what this was, and I'm not finding a lot of information about it. I'm kind of seeing, okay, briefly exited, returned, and yeah. So, in the problem having an injury problem like that is it pops up but it doesn't fully go away. You lost guys like Deebo that, everyone's like, oh, well, that's not a big issue when you lose one player. No, but when you lose a player who does so many things, you saw it with the Saints. If you guys watched the Saints and Eagles game, which was an ugly game, Taysom Hill did not play. And Jay Glazer asked Dennis Allen, how do you replace a guy like Taysom Hill? He's like, well, normally if it's one player, you can replace him with another player. But he does so many different things. He lines up a quarterback, he lines up a running back, he lines up a fullback, he's at tight end, he's at wide receiver, he's doing this, he's doing that. He's doing so many things that it's not, you can't replace him with one guy, you have to replace him with 10 guys, which is not easy to do because not everyone knows how to do the exact same thing that he can do. So you saw the issue. You see how a defense has to prepare for it. That's the problem. The same goes for Deebo Samuel. He lines up as a wide receiver. He lines up as a running back. He can be given the ball on a receiver screen or on an end around or on anything. He could be in the backfield. He could be going out for passes. He could be going out for runs. He could be doing all kinds of things. Sometimes just even being a decoy. But he's doing all kinds of things. And now that he's not there, teams are not as afraid of the decoy. You see what I'm saying? You can't replace a guy like that. because you have to technically replace the 4 guys or 10 guys or whatever it is for however much he does. You can't replace a guy like that. You can't just say, okay, put another guy in there. It works. Because the things that Deebo Samuel does well are things that not everyone can do well. It's that simple. So the point is that I'm trying to make, if Trent Williams is in fact hurt and misses any period of time, that would be a massive, massive issue for the 49ers because they are just not good enough. I think when you have injuries like that. Mm. Hang on. Things being slow today. Okay. Okay. So we get into week 4, and we have some news for this, or not some news, but we have some games that we want to talk about. So first of all, I'm gonna try to write this down and get this ready for the What I Play podcast on Friday. And so we have the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Giants. Now, depending on where you go, has um different betting odds. But I'm gonna use the betting odds mostly from what I've been seeing, which is 4.5 in the favor of the Cowboys. Actually, I should change that thing. I get myself confused too. Yeah. Boom. Okay. And 4.5 for the Cowboys. This is gonna be an interesting game because the Giants have won the one game that the Cowboys have won, which is against the Browns, 21-15. Um, both these teams are really in weird spots at this moment. The Giants, I mean, anytime you lose to a team and that team doesn't score a touchdown, and they did that they did a week ago where they lost to the Commanders who didn't score a touchdown. And still won when you scored 3 touchdowns. Like that's embarrassing. So you got that side of the Giants, and then you get the side of the Cowboys, which they can't stop a run at the moment. They gotta do that. They gotta create a run game, and they gotta stop the run, and they also gotta find a way to stop elite neighbors. So, with saying that, I believe this is a game for the Cowboys to get back on track. They're not on track at the moment. This is a game you need to win. You need to desperately win this. So I have the Cowboys winning. It's gonna be an ugly game. It's a Thursday night game. but they win and they win pretty big here, and they're gonna go win 31-10. Um, Next up we have. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. See if I can find it. Okay. We got excuse me. We got Rams at Bears on that Sunday at 1 o'clock in Chicago. Um, I'm taking the Bears in this one only for this reason. I don't like the Rams at this moment. They have not played well. Even though they won the game against San Francisco, those are rivalry games. Those games are, for whatever reason, players are more like, I guess, if you will, they play better, they play faster. So I'm gonna take the Bears, but I don't like this game at all. Actually, I really don't. I really don't like this game just because I don't think the Bears are particularly in the best position either. I mean, like, look, I think it was Bo Nix was only guy last week as a rookie to get a win. So let's go. It's not showing me the favorites. Hang on. Hang on. I'm gonna have to go back here. It's not showing me the favorites, and I don't know why it's doing that. It used to. Damn. Okay, there. When the thing wants to work, we will do it. Basically, going back into the Rams and Bears, this game is like not gonna be a fun game to watch. The Rams are beaten to hell. The best way I can put it, they are not healthy. The Bears, who are somewhat healthy, they just don't play well. Caleb Williams looks pretty bad, and like that's not a helpful thing. So the Rams look bad and they're injured. The Bears just look bad. Now, as this thing tries to come back, hang on. Notification just popped up. CD Lamb was talking about how he apologizes for his outburst that he had. He was apologizing because he was frustrated. He is frustrated. Look, he doesn't feel like he's getting the ball enough. But when he does, it's not. He's had a couple drop issues. He's fumbled. He fumbled in the game against the Ravens. So there's things that he's even struggling with doing because he's not focused. But he was apologizing. He's like, "Look, it's on me. It's my fault. I get it." And I can understand his frustration. His frustration. Everyone's like, "Oh, did it bother you?" Everyone's like, "Oh, that bothered me that CD was not growing up." I'm like, dude, he is the best receiver you got. You're not getting him the ball. And when he is getting the ball, he's just not doing what he's supposed to do. So of course he's frustrated. He's frustrated in that he's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's frustrated he's not getting the ball as much as he wants. And because he thinks he can help the team win, which is true. We saw it last year. He's frustrated the offense is not going the way he wants it to go. And on top of all that, you're not winning. You've been getting beaten repeatedly. the last few weeks. All that is emotion that's just getting thrown, that is getting that isn't getting fully dealt with. And you know what fixes that? Winning. Winning fixes that. Dude, how many times did we see Odell Beckham Jr. do that to the Giants? We saw it all the time. All the time. And you say, okay, well, why doesn't Odell just grow up? You saw it because they weren't winning. When they were winning, you never saw it. Antonio Brown, all the things that were going on with Antonio Brown, we didn't hear anything about it. You know why? They were winning. We didn't hear anything. Only when we started to hear it was when he wanted out. And when he got out and went to the Raiders, they weren't playing well. You heard all this. It was a charade. It was a circus act. He goes to New England. Okay, decent, but nothing crazy happening. It's a circus act. Then he's out of the NFL for a while. Then he goes to Tampa. They win the Super Bowl. You don't hear anything for like a certain time. And then the year after, you start hearing stuff. And then boom, he's out of the NFL again. It's a circus act. It's a circus act. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, that is the point that is being made. If you really want to think about it, all the things involved, all the opportunities, you really, really think about it, you can get an answer. These are tough games to play. And when your team itself is struggling and not playing to their level of expectation, there are things that need to happen, that need to take place, that haven't taken place. How do you fix it? That is the answer. Fixing it by winning games is the answer. So just go and win the game. Sounds easier than it actually is, I know, but go find a way to win the game. That's what you gotta do. Okay, we're not gonna do the betting odds, I guess, because it's not working. So, like I said, we have the Rams Bears. I have the Bears winning only because I don't like either team really at the moment, but I think the Bears have the better shot just because of health reasons. So I have the Bears winning in a very extremely ugly game in Chicago. And there just becomes more and more issues if you are the Los Angeles Rams of where do we go from here? Where do we go from here into the next period of time? So moving on into our next game if I can find it. There you go. Okay, we have the New England Patriots versus San Francisco 49ers. You're talking about a bounce back game for San Francisco? This is it. Because New England has not played well. But if you're talking about San Francisco needing to play their tail off, this is when they got to do it too. So, with all that being said, San Francisco wins this game very easily. San Francisco wins. I think the score is, or for the Bears, Rams would be 20. to 13, or maybe even lower than that somehow. But New England versus San Francisco. Give me San Francisco in a not even close bout. And our final two games here, we have Chiefs at Chargers. Chiefs at Chargers at 4:25. Who knows if Justin Herbert plays in this game? He played last week, ended up leaving the game with the high ankle sprain that he suffered a week before. Who knows if he plays? So, in all saying that, this will be a fun game to watch. I think Chiefs. I don't like their rush defense fully. Bijan Robinson kind of got him going a little bit, but then Spagnuolo kind of slowed him down. J.K. Dobbins versus this defense is going to be kind of fun to watch. Gus Edwards versus this defense is going to be fun to watch. I want to see how good the Chargers O-line does against this Chiefs defensive line. And saying that, I do think the Chiefs sneak another game out, but I would not be surprised when these two teams meet again in Kansas City. It might be a split in the for who wins this division. There might be a splitting of games here. So Chiefs at Chargers. And I'll take the Chiefs probably for now. And if Justin does in fact play, how healthy is he? Might change my prediction. And finally, we have the Buffalo Bills versus the Ravens. This is going to be an interesting game to watch, mainly because they have played the Bills destroyed Jacksonville 47-10. The Ravens played really well against the Cowboys, but then took their foot off the gas, and that's why the score was so close. I think this is going to be one of those fun games to watch. One team is 3-0, the other team is 1-2, but I the Ravens are quite possibly should be 3-0 depending on how the way they could be definitely 2-1 very easily. So I'm gonna say the Ravens find a way to win in this game with a score of 28-21, but back into the Chiefs and Chargers game. I think it's closer 28-24 Chiefs. And that is predictions for week number 4. Let me know in the comment section who you think is going to win in week number 4. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.